Hey guys, it's Arrow. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be bringing you my second build of the Phrecia event, Scourge Arrow of the Menace Blind Prophet. If you like arrows, this one's for you. This build is based off of a previous build that I made that featured the gluttonous tied bow as well. There are a number of mechanics at play here, so if you want to understand them further, please watch the previous video. I'm going to link it in the video description down below. But today's video will be about how I made this into a budget version that doesn't require a Nemesis or a Mage Blood. I'm going to keep this video brief because I am on day 11 of a subathon and I have to get back to stream. So the most important things about this build: Scourge Arrow of the Menace fires a projectile that can place a pod on the ground that will fire 5 additional projectiles at half damage each. Each additional projectile you add will add another spore pod. At 10 projectiles, you have 50 additional projectiles that fire from those spore pods. All of those projectiles can return to you. So depending on your investment, this build can achieve anywhere from 12 to 20 projectiles that all fire 5 additional. One projectile from each spore pod can hit an enemy. So with 10 projectiles, you can hit once with the original set of arrows and once on the return with those arrows. Then each of the 10 projectiles can hit one time and then one time on the return. Potential overlaps are much better if you can stand right on top of the boss, so all the returning projectiles can come to you. Now, I can't tell you exactly how much damage this build does, but the more arrows you have, the more single target you'll do, and the better that you can face tank a boss, the more damage you'll do. Now, this build is not a face tank beast like the Slayer was that I previously played, because it is on much more of a budget. But with significant investment, you can do just that. So why should you play this build? It's fun. You fire projectiles in all directions. They all overlap. Clear is a breeze. You don't have to aim at anything. It is a one-button build. It is a true Arrow classic. Why shouldn't you play this build? Well, it's just not that tanky. If you're looking to blast tier 17s on a 10 divine budget, it can clear them, but it's going to struggle with the bosses. And second, some of the upgrades can be very expensive. Swift Killer was 70 divines at the time of this video, and a Frenzy Charge Ring is obviously expensive. However, if you can fit those two things into your build, for about 150 div additional investment, you'll be at 11 frenzies, which is 11 additional arrows and 11 permanent endurance charges. So why are we getting additional arrows? The Gluttonous Tide. The Gluttonous Tide says lose all frenzy charges on reaching maximum frenzy charges. To make the next bow attack you perform, fire that many additional arrows. If you have 10 frenzy charges and you generate 10 frenzies, it'll consume them all, and the next time you attack, you'll get 10 more arrows. The massive downside of this is that you lose the damage and attack speed bonus every time you expend all of your charges. However, if you generate all of your charges during the attack, then the next attack will have just as many arrows, and you'll never have to deal with the downside of losing them. So there are two pieces to this. The Ralakesh boots, on a low budget for early, just regular red mapping, are not mandatory. They feel really nice, and if you want to be tanky, you have to have them. Combination of that with the replica badge of the Brotherhood gives you all of those endurance charges full uptime. The second half of this is Frenzy Charge on crit. If your critical strike chance is 100% or close to it, you're going to be striking so many enemies that you're going to generate all of your frenzy charges on every hit. The more arrows you have, the more consistent this becomes. Until you get a lot of additional arrows, you can add a precursor that gives you a chance to gain up to your maximum frenzy charges if those are cheap, but I would recommend investing into getting more arrows. The biggest downside of the Gluttonous Tide bow, aside from that, is its low damage. In order to fix that, we use the Covenant chest for a ton of chaos, and then we convert the fizz from our bow into chaos using Unholy Might on a cluster. You can get that on a medium or a large cluster, so do whatever is in your budget. I played this build up to level 95 on a very small budget. We're thinking 10 to 15 divines, and then I started to put more currency in it, but it has not reached its true potential. I still don't have a Frenzy Charge Ring, and I never bought Swift Killer, despite having the currency for it. I'm thinking that I might be ready to move on to my next build because I only have 2 weeks left before I get married, and I'm not going to be able to play the event anymore. So I still have 3 or 4 builds that I want to try. So unfortunately, I'm probably going to be jumping off this, but I recommend that you push this to its limits because its limits are incredibly high. Also, you can brag to your friends that you're doing more damage than them with a Gluttonous Tide. So why are we the Blind Prophet? The Blind Prophet allows us to drop the Nemesis with no downside. So for starters, we take Sightless, which makes it so your base crit for weapons is 12%. Because we use a unique bow with a base crit of 6 that is unmodifiable, this gives us 6 flat critical strike chance and makes it very easy to get to the max. The downside of You Are Blind is easily handled by the Soul of Garakan. That is a pantheon that says you cannot be blinded. Early on, you can take a blind mastery that prevents you from being blinded as well, but that's not worth the points in the late game. The second node that we take is Directionless. This says projectiles are fired in random directions, which for this build is an upside. It gives us ridiculous coverage because we have a ridiculous number of arrows. And then it says a 50% chance to return to you for each of those projectiles. Now that seems like a downside, but the reality is only one of your original arrows can hit on the way out and on the way back. And then only one of each spore pod can hit on the way out and on the way back. So let's say you have 16 arrows. As long as one of those hits on the return, you're not losing any damage. So half of that would be 8 arrows would return. You only need 1 out of 8 to hit. And then for each spore pod, you have 5 arrows, which means 2.5 will return on average, and you only need 1 of those to hit as well. So this is technically not as good as a Menace, but in reality, the DPS really shouldn't be any different. We get additional projectiles from Careless, and then speed and damage avoidance from Shapeless. All right, I gotta wrap it up there because I have to go stream. I'm sorry this is short, but we are doing a subathon, so make sure you stop by and say hi, twitch.tv/AER0__. I am live every minute of every day that I am awake, and we're gonna keep pushing up until my wedding. If you have any questions on this build at all, please stop by the stream and ask. I am happy to help. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell. I know you're not gonna hit the notification bell, but please go like and subscribe. Only about 7% of my viewers are subscribed, so make sure you click that button. That's gonna be it for me. I'll see you over on the stream. And as always, take care.